I wrote this down as a thought the other day because it occurred to me what is stopping me from doing YouTube, what is stopping me of getting in the way of my YouTube progress is watching YouTube, watching YouTube, watching YouTube. Can you relate? Now, on the side, I just want to show you where I wrote this. I wrote this right here on a priority mail, which I think makes it more of a priority of doing YouTube. um, I wrote it right here. What is stopping me getting? Now, I can hardly read my own writing. I, I don't know. It looks good when I'm writing it, but when I get it down, it doesn't. And then it kind of just flowed from here to here, up to here, and up to there. And these are some things. And then here, that's my plan today for this video. Today, I'm in my familiar home office, actually, this little dining room. Uh, and it's getting hot here in Phoenix. I had tried to go out the last week to film at another resort, but I was watching YouTube. What can I say? You know, my watching of YouTube, which in some ways could be considered a problem, uh, it isn't watching it mindlessly. It isn't watching it just for pure entertainment. It's actually a daily exercise as I go through it of a number of factors. Primarily, number one is learning new ideas, finding out from others what they're doing, how they're doing it. Some of that is with regard to building a YouTube channel, following other people's journey, particularly new YouTubers. Um, but what are some of the things I'm watching just in the last few days? Let me just share the big picture. I mentioned the learning aspect of it, the following, particularly the new YouTubers. I wrote down, I like to find out, like, if I find a new YouTuber, particularly a boomer, is how long have they been doing it? So, you go to their videos and you go to oldest, maybe look at their most popular, although I haven't done that as much. But that's what I'm learning is that's probably what you should be doing if you want to grow your channel fast, which I'm not so certain I'm really in that track yet. But in terms of looking at their oldest video, it's encouraging to see one of two things. It's encouraging to see someone that just started 3, 6, 8 months ago, less than a year. Uh, I often will look at which video for them typically blew up, typically went viral. Uh, just it's encouraging to see, wow, look how quick it can happen. And then what also is encouraging, I always feel a little bit like, yeah, because I'm approaching 7 or 8 months now, but looking at some of you that have hung in there, being consistent or even inconsistent for a couple years, maybe even 3, 4, 5 years, that's encouraging because number one, it can happen as you find your way. And, I would have hoped maybe by now I would be a little farther along. I started out pretty quick, but things have leveled off, plateaued. As of this, as a matter of fact, as of the last week, I've lost 5 or 6 subscribers. What am I doing? I should do an episode, losing subscribers like a pro. The way I see losing subscribers, though, is a positive because you really want the audience that in your subscribers to be those people that are going to be watching. That's important for growth on YouTube and success. So I watched a few videos too about Notebook LM, been learning more about that. I want to mention that there was a little confusion with my last video about, Notebook LM and how it was the AI that actually created that podcast. Grant, one of my most commenting subscribers, and Grant, you are really, I know you haven't started YouTube, but you've got all these great ideas, but man, you are the thinker. But I was actually pleased as I was reading your comment to find that I tricked you. I was not out to trick you. As a matter of fact, people, I changed the thumbnail to even show that a reference to the AI that was used. I also caught myself, I blew it while One of the worst mistakes I made was just going black with just the audio. I should have put some pictures behind it. I thought about doing that. I was lazy. I didn't. So I know a lot of people are clicking off when it just goes black and they hear this podcast start. The point of listening to the podcast, or at least part of it, was to show you what this AI was able to do after within 30 seconds review, in its own way, didn't watch the video, but it listened to it. It had the transcript and just created it. I thought it represented the video better than the video represented itself in my ideas. But Grant, your comment cracked me up. Okay, I want to jump in here and read that comment. Among the other one that was kind of funny was Grace's comment from Life Lemon Dodge. She said, "That is some funky voodoo stuff there, Phil. Very creative." Actually, it wasn't very creative. You just plug it into Notebook LM and it does it. But that is kind of weird how well it does. And then Grant, he said, this is funny. The podcast seems eerily like the voices one gets when asking Google's Notebook LMAI to generate a podcast about a topic. Actually, they don't generate it. Well, I guess they could generate about a topic. What it actually does is you put the podcast in the notebook, and then it creates that podcast, a discussion by the two AI bots talking about your video and even adding commentary that it showed some reasoning, at least it did in mine. So I think that it does that. By the way, I like this angle. I think I'll have to do that. Oh, look at this. Okay. Now he said, notice how they never talk over one another. AI is perfect, isn't it? Now he says, how did you hear about this podcast? About the podcast talking about my video? I thought at this point I'm thinking, I didn't say I heard about it. If you didn't generate yourself, okay. So at this point, he's starting to wonder. And he says, I really suspect that someone else just auto generated it. Yeah, me using AI. So then he says, then what he says, damn you. You got me. I got sick of listening to them talk. By the way, if you go back and check it, if you didn't listen to the whole thing, skip to the 7-minute mark. That's my commentary where I fess up to what happens and what I thought about this new AI. So, yeah, if you just listen to a little bit of the podcast and jump to the 7-minute mark, he says, I got sick of listening to them and pretending you thought it was real. I did. I was pretending. I thought that was funny. So I skipped ahead and then searched the transcript again about the 7-minute mark. You devil, you. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Gotcha. So the point of that, though, is just how powerful. I've been using it almost daily when I find a video or a podcast on some information I'm interested in or I'm learning about. I just pop it in the notebook. It gives me an immediate outline of the main ideas. It will even, and then it will answer questions if I wanted to go deeper into, what the meaning in the audio, in the video or the podcast was, some of the themes that were being discussed. It's just really good. Now I just have to take the time to go back and work on that. Is putting the knowledge to use. I watch a lot of interviews being done on the channels. A couple of my favorite would be Rogan's podcast. Seldom, by the way, do I ever watch the whole interview from start to finish. Too long. These interviews are, deep dives, so to speak. What I like, though, is each interview then is divided up into clips. And sometimes these people will now start a channel of just their clips of their longer form videos, the highlights. I like that. But Rogan is one. Sean Ryan, he's a former military SEAL, has some really interesting interviews. Used to be just, I think, people in the military, from the military. But now he's even doing, he's expanding. His most recent is on Tim Tebow. Looks like an amazing interview of Tebow. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. First Million is one of my favorite go-to when they produce or put out a video. Check them out with Sean Purry. Just so many amazing topics. These are smart individuals. Lastly, I find myself watching the quests, as I've come to call them. Uh, these are either the young people or boomers that are on a journey. There's a couple, it's called Life Uncontained. I mentioned them before a year or so ago. I'm still watching. They're my favorite family quest. It's their journey from Florida to Texas. A young couple with no children now have even two children, and I think a third might be on the way, but two. They bought some property, they built a container home, and they've just documented this journey in a very creative way and a very great way. Even though they don't talk about any messaging, they're sending out a message of just what two people can do when they work together, I suppose. It's just a great story. It's great seeing their family. And they have millions of followers now, millions of people viewing their weekly episodes. And if when you read through the comments, you see just how powerful of a building of community a YouTube channel can be. Anyways, there's a number of other people I follow and I watch on a weekly basis on their quests. I actually had to look up, or I wanted to look up the definition of quest because I wanted to be sure I was using it correctly. And I am. Uh, so we're all on the same page. A quest is a journey or search, a goal or mission, a pursuit that is fulfilling. And with that, I find ultimately what I've learned about being successful at YouTube. I think for boomers, that is possibly the most important niche we can find and pursue. And so, what has been boiling down for me now as I approach 500 subscribers, over 2,000 watch hours, and trying to get to 1,000 and 4,000. Hopefully, by the end of the year, that's my goal. Is a quest for this channel, What's Up Boomer, being built around either legacy activities I'm so interested, I'm so passionate about. For me, doing some activities, sharing them with you, and then encouraging you to document your story, your family memories for specifically not the world, but obviously either your family members, including and most importantly, the grandkids, if you've been blessed to have some. The other quest is the journey of retirement. You know, I that was my first idea right up there with the legacy is having gotten to retirement. I made it. I crossed the threshold, and you know, over the last couple of years, started realizing what do you do when you don't have the nest egg? How can I be successful in retirement without the nest egg? Nothing more. It's getting irritating. All of these topics. You know, you can retire with $500,000 in your portfolio. And, you know, you probably should have that right now, but I don't. And as it turns out, a headline I saw the other day said, um, how to survive on your how to best live in retirement on $1 million, because what they found out, what studies have shown, it's not about how much money you're making or saving, having saved. It's about the biggest worry now is will you run out of money in your retirement? And so now you spend the first 40 plus years building your retirement, and then you spend the remaining days worrying about, are you going to have enough? It's no way to live. I do feel like there's a journey for me to share about retirement, and it's a big one. This past week, I've talked to 2, 3 other people, boomers, and asking them. They're also working, and so I know they're not set up, or maybe it's why are you working? And all of them have said, look, number one, I have to. I was going to mention on that, I looked up how many people retire at the age of 65 with $1 million in assets or investments. The amount of people was 1.9%. You know, 98% of us have less than that. And I think a very high percentage, 70+%, retire with little or nothing. So I'm speaking, I know, to that group of people, the largest group of people, what and how we can negotiate these retirement years, how to best do it, how to make these years the best years of our lives. Is that possible? I think it is, as long as we keep our health. So that's another little angle on it. But the quest of retirement, definitely something I think I will go forward with a more focused endeavor on these videos. And then lastly, presently, one of the things I want to do is I want to do interviews. I want participation with audience members as well as just people out there that I come in contact with, and to interview them on their journey in these retirement years. Most likely they'll be boomers, although not necessarily. There's so much to learn, so much to be really encouraged about. And what I found, particularly this week, these people, they have no idea. They kind of feel alone in their journey. That one person that I work with, actually, she's 75 years old. Come to find out, her ex stole their retirement, and then he passed, and she's lost it. And now she's working at 75 years old with her little bit of Social Security. Um, I told her, and I know it's to be true, there's so many of you out there probably having the same story. So I think as we build as a community, and I can provide this as a platform for connecting with all of us, knowing that each individual has some challenges, you're not in it alone, and we can find common ground, I think, making these retirement years, even though they may look different, very different for each individual, good years. That's my hope. I want to bring this up today, is the live format. I've been talking about it now. I didn't realize how long, but since I started, I think in my second video last October, I mentioned I wanted to do a live. Well, I ran into all kinds of tech challenges, and it's supposed to be simple. So I think I've overcome those, and I'm going to go live shortly. The only way, because I have a tough time planning at this point, if you subscribe and hit the bell, the notification bell, you'd actually get a notice say, hey, what's up, Boomer is live. And I am going to try to have a few people set up to just come on and see that, it's working. I think I'm using StreamYard. I hope to, because I love the feature of being able to show people's participatory comments or questions on the screen. If you use Facebook Live, you can't do that. I think I'll end with this idea, something else I just have reviewed, or what I've learned. Jesse Itzler keeps popping up a lot of times in my feeds I follow. He's just a really inspiring guy. He has a real inspiring story. He's a very motivational type teacher slash speaker. I like to call him a teacher because I've learned, and you could learn so many things from him. But one of the things, he breaks down his year, and he's got this thing about planning your year out around these three things. Number one, a misogi. Misogi, I think it is. A misogi is one big thing a year that defines your year. So if you can do that. Now, here's the reality of my past, and I guess this might be an excuse, but doing it if you have a family, or doing it as a senior retired with a very limited income, money, it seems to me, most of these can and do cost money, especially the bigger they get. But I suppose you could do something that could define your year that doesn't cost. It could be a hike. It could be doing a mountaintop, something. But each year, do something that defines your year. I love that idea. Number two is 6 times a year, or one day every 8 weeks, do a mini adventure. I love this, but these things have to be scheduled. Like I did about a month ago, 2 months ago, I went on a bike ride, on an electric bike, for the first time. It was definitely an adventure, relatively inexpensive, 30 some bucks for an hour, but I enjoyed it so much so I plan to get an electric bike, I hope, this year, as I put it in the budget. So how many times? My math is weak. 6 times a year, once every 8 weeks, do a mini adventure. And then every quarter, 4 times a year, add a winning habit. So that's what his idea is, to build your year out. So those of you who journal, which I have done and I always end up quitting, but I want to go back to my morning practice in a way where a little bit of journaling is included in each day. I'm going to structure my year starting here. I'll be with those 3 things in mind. A Misogi, the big adventure, the mini adventure, and a winning habit focus for each quarter. I think I'd have twice as many videos out if I wasn't watching so much YouTube. On the other hand, what I'm learning right now, possibly it's time well spent, hopefully helping me to find, with each passing video, something I can do better, maybe a new idea of how to approach it, a new idea to cover, a new topic. As this channel develops, I encourage you to do the same. Drop a comment. Not so much about this, but if you've got an adventure planned, or if you've got a mini adventure, give us some ideas what that might be. Well, it's time. Finish up my coffee. This is my 4th, at least, cup this morning. Not counting, though. And I know of a video that was just released this morning I'm going to go watch. Happy Mother's Day, and have a great rest of your Sunday.